Hey y'all, it's Natalia and
Francis, hello, hello.
and we are the founders of The Boss Couples. As you can see, we are official. We're branded now. Yes, okay. Well, this evening we wanted to have some introductions of not only ourselves to you, but you to us and you to each other, because that is what networking does, right? Before we get into that, obviously, we don't have anyone on the call, and that's okay. Hopefully, you guys will see the value in networking with other couples because that is why we started this collaboration, if you want to call it, in the first place. Because we are in business together and we're looking for other couples in business. And we're also trying to help those who are not booed up, who don't have any boss couple, but they're bosses in their own right, whether you are a female boss, a man boss, and you're looking for your person because you never know. Your person could be right in our group, but you won't find them if you don't show up. So hopefully you will show up, right? Yes. Okay. So we are sharing our screen. And as you can see, we're building businesses together. Um, like I said, we're a community of couples doing business together. And of course, the focus of the boss couples is networking, accountability. Accountability is actually very important because we all know that you are the company you keep. And if you're keeping company with people who are focused on their business, who are very driven, who are willing to work through the weaknesses and improve on their strengths, then I think we are going to achieve our goal of not just success in our own individual businesses, but helping you guys also to be successful. Um, you have anything you want to say, honey?
I was letting you roll with the ball if you was gonna take it, but yeah, no. We want to provide value basically. Like we came into this because we travel a lot. Uh, one of my things that I do is traveling nursing. So we're in different cities, different states, and it's like, where do we find like-minded couples that, maybe want to grab a taco or go hit a coffee shop or, something like that. We've been to Memphis, to Cincinnati, to Houston, to Miami, you name it. We bounce around, and we found that it was really lacking in the market something for couples who are business minded to get together, and then you know she does a lot of work with women's groups as it is, and just as a tag along, I go with her sometimes, or I help her set up or something. And one of the biggest questions we get from these groups is, how did you get your man? Where did you find him at? Da, 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 and so it's like, yes, yes, dear. So, what that's a gap we're also looking to fill. Dating with intention, trying to find people that are like-minded, that are, entrepreneurial in spirit, to connect those people and also to connect their businesses. Mentorship, mentees, any kind of advice. And we're going to be putting together packages in the future. We're doing some market research right now to see what the best value would be to provide to our community. So we're going to be working on that as we go forward.
And can I just say also, we're not just putting packages together, we're packaging a lot of us as a boss couple together because we have certainly been through some challenges. In fact, why don't we get into that actually? Why don't we share our story?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, our story is actually pretty straightforward, but there are three sides of this story: my side, his side, and the actual truth. So I got a ticket for a 10X conference down in Miami, and so did Francis. Obviously, we didn't know each other. And when I went to the conference, which actually I wasn't going to go to the conference, Francis knew he was going. He got the ticket and he definitely knew he was going because he drove, what, 4 or 5 hours from, well, actually, yeah, 5 hours from Tampa down to Coral Gables in Miami, Florida to attend this conference. And I was like, no, I don't want to go. And then my grand aunt told me that I definitely should go. And I listened to her because that's what you do. You seek wise counsel, right? And shout out to Anne Marion. And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I should definitely go. So I went, and it was a great conference. It started off with like a morning session. Everyone was in one ballroom, and then we had breakout sessions. So unfortunately, I came a little bit late, so I didn't get a chance to grab a seat. Francis was sitting in one of those seats. I didn't know where he was because I didn't see him until later, but he was very comfortable. I certainly was not. My feet were hurting. I was already rushed that morning, but I went to my breakout session in one of the breakout rooms, and he went to his breakout session, which were not together. It was when we went back into the main ballroom for the second full session where everyone is together that I said to myself, yeah, I cannot stand again, for another session. I really cannot. So I made a beeline towards the back of the right back of the room, and I saw a full row. And I said to myself, well, there's a guy sitting at the end. Maybe he's holding a few of the seats for someone. You know how when a conference is really packed and someone has to be the, scapegoat, or not scapegoat, but someone has to be the designated seat holder. That's what I thought he was. So I politely asked him if anyone was sitting next to him. Turns out that he was not holding seats. There was no one sitting next to him. So I sat not at the seat next to you. I sat the one over because I didn't want to be rude and, not, I didn't want him to think that, oh, well, I don't want to talk to you. That's why I'm going to sit far away from you. But then I also didn't know him because, well, we hadn't met yet. So I sat in the one right next to the one next to him. And I don't know who spoke to who first. I really can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was probably Francis because he's kind of fast like that. But anywho, we just had shared sentiments about the conference. It was like small talk at first. Oh, hey, isn't this a great conference? And then next thing you know, we're sharing information about what brought us there, why we were there, what we were looking to gain out of it. And come to find out that Francis was new to all of this. I went to the conference because I knew what it was exactly about. I knew what, I'm very intentional about when I go to these conferences, what my strategy is. So I already knew what the conference was about and what I was going to learn. And I was hoping to learn some more, obviously, because that's why we go for personal and professional development, right? But Francis was new to all of this. So I did spend a couple of minutes, explaining to him a few things that I knew about business and why we were at the conference. And next thing you know, we're spending the whole day together talking to each other about the conference and life and sharing little tidbits here and there. And he's trying to buy me lunch, and I'm independent boss babe. And I said, oh, no, 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 I can buy my own lunch. And he's like, no, really, I can buy it. And I was like, sure. And then we go up to eat. And now here we are, almost 3 years later. August will make three, count them, 1, 2, 3, 3 solid years. At first, I was commuting back and forth between Houston and Tampa. And then I decided to make Tampa my main base and keep my Houston network. And of course, straddle the Bahamas. And here we are 3 years later, now starting the boss couples.
You feed them once and they'll follow you home, and then they never leave.
All right. You see his sense of humor? Right.
But,
Okay.
so yeah, kind of like the backstory to my adventure into that was I was running a Facebook group that had like 7 million visitors a month. It was crazy. I had never really run, anything like that before. So I was trying to find, mentors or somebody I could reach out to to help me out with my group. We were doing pretty good business. We were up in the like low six figures, honestly. And I just was hitting a ceiling and I saw, all my eggs in one basket with the Facebook group. So I was trying to figure out the next steps to take, where to go and how to grow from where I was. And happened to just come across this show on YouTube that was Undercover Billionaire with Grant Cardone. I had never heard of that guy. I didn't know him from Adam.
I know who he was.
I wasn't familiar with this world of sales coaching and all these people and all that stuff. But the thing that stuck out to me about him in the show was he was taking risks he didn't even need to take. Sleeping at night on some RV lot, literal billionaire owns 747 planes and stuff. Going standing out in the middle of a public street. Now, granted, he had a film crew and he had other people around, I guess, but I mean, he was waving cars in off the street because he was, made a deal with this guy at a mattress factory or whatever. And so he's taking these risks and he's grinding every single day. He's getting up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And, I've worked multiple sales positions. I've been a pharmaceutical sales rep. I've uh, done trucking and sales. I mean, I've done inside sales, outside sales, you name it. So to see the techniques that he was using and how hard he would go after it, I was honestly impressed. So when I heard that he was having an event in Miami, I thought to myself, I really want to go down and meet this guy. I wasn't aware that he wasn't even going to show up there. He was just going to be on video. You know what I mean? So after getting there and figuring that out, I was kind of disappointed. But at the same time, I was like, all right, I'm just going to use this opportunity to network as much as I possibly can and see what I can figure out. And, um, met Natalia, start talking about how she does business coaching and all that type of stuff. And she was familiar with a lot of the world in that side of things that I was not. So I figured, at the very least, we could be good friends. We could, maybe learn from each other, um, and move on from there. And here we are 3 years later, still working on it, still getting things together. And, it's been a wonderful experience. Can't say it's like the whole road's been paved with roses, but honestly, when you can find someone's vision that aligns with your vision, it makes life so much easier. You're not having to explain to somebody why you're going to this meeting or that meeting, or you can't be here this week or that week because you both share that spirit of that hustle and grind. But when you do get the time together, then you really do value that time that you have because that's the one thing that nobody can buy. You can't buy time. It's literally the only thing that's priceless. So the time that you got, you want to spend that as effectively as humanly possible. At least I know I do. So I try to be as intentional, and that can include rest. I mean, you can schedule in rest. You can't shortchange yourself on taking care of yourself, your sleep habits, your body, that type of thing. Um, but it's also very easy to get caught up in the hustle and the grind, especially when you have that hustle and grind spirit. So that's some of the things we're looking to do is kind of help out with some of those things. Like I said, we're gonna go out and do some field testing and even ask out, to our audience, what would you see value in? Like, what could we bring to you in your business, in your relationship, and looking for somebody or whatever? Like, basically, how can we help? Because that's what we really want to do is provide value. Um, have act as mentors, but then also mentees. I mean, if you have a business that you started with your partner and you guys are doing pretty well and you guys want to share advice or anything like that, we are definitely welcome to all that type of stuff. We want to connect people at every level, whether you've already built your legacy and you're kind of sailing into the sunset, or whether you're just getting started and looking, you don't even know how to get an LLC, you don't know how to set up a business bank account, that type of thing. Um, I've been on that side of things, the brand new, and not had known nothing about anything. I actually ended up having to talk to a buddy of mine who was in real estate and tell him, say, what am I supposed to do with this? I got people messaging me asking me to advertise on my Facebook group. I got money getting thrown at me left and right. I don't want to screw this up, but I didn't go to school for business. I went to school for nursing. So, how does this even work? And it's been a steep learning curve, to be honest. And I still learn something new every single day. Um, and still out here hustling, still out here grinding. But it's good to have a partner. It's good to have somebody that understands. And like I said, we don't always 100% see eye to eye, but we can overcome that because we have common goals.
Right. And you know what? No couple always sees eye to eye, not
Yeah.
one couple. And that's the beauty of life. We are in this journey of imperfect action together. And it's really the commitment that keeps you together. It keeps you focused on the vision. And it reminds you that even in an imperfect world, we can still accomplish our goals. We can still give back to our communities. We can still raise our kids. We can still, have beautiful families and go on the trips that we want to go to and just do the things in life that we want to do because each one of us will have in this group is going to have different goals. We know this already because Francis and I as individuals, we have different goals. He's concerned about being in the beach water all the time. And I grew up pretty much born in beach water. So we have different goals there when it comes to like recreation and beach time. He would go every day if he was able to and allowed to. And I probably wouldn't, you know. But when you're with someone and you bring your what you want and what you have going on and that other person's, then that's where compromise and commitment to operating as a single unit comes in because we've definitely learned and been through some lessons about operating as a single unit, as one, as opposed to individuals. And not to say that you lose yourself as an individual, but you tend, couples tend to focus more on operating as a single unit when it comes to business. So, anyhow, that is our story. So now you know. Of course, those that are close to us, they know that story already. But there are a lot of people in this group who don't know me, who don't know Francis, and they certainly don't know our story. So now you know our story. We met at a business conference because we are committed to improving not only ourselves individually, but learning how we can improve our business. And now we're running this Boss Couples together, and obviously I'm helping him with his businesses and he's helping me with my businesses. Like, for example, I would dare say he's my sales coach. Because not that, obviously I'm terrible at sales, but I'm not as good at sales as Francis. And one of the things that we definitely want to package is how to find out who's strong at what and who's weak at what so that you can delegate tasks easier and obviously be comfortable in running a business because it doesn't make any sense you trying to run a business if you're not comfortable doing what you're being asked to do if the other person is stronger doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for example, I'm very strong at social media. Francis is strong at social media, but let's face it, he's not as strong as I am, and that's big facts. But anywho, moving right along. So we don't have anyone on the call, and that's okay because hopefully you guys will join us on the next one because one thing that I've learned in marketing is that it's not about what you know. It's not about who knows you, right? Um, it's about who knows you and what you do. Because a lot of people know Francis and a lot of people know me. However, a lot of people might not know what we do. And when you can market your business over and over and over again, so people are absolutely clear on what you do, chances are you get more referrals because now they remember, hey, Lisa does pet sitting and Joe does car detailing or whatever the case may be. So, one of the questions that we were going to ask tonight as icebreakers is one goal for this year. So, because we are, like I said, operating as a unit, but we are still individual, I will allow Francis to share his one goal for this year and then I'll share mine.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a big fan of goals. I'm a big fan of weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals. I think it's a really healthy way to reflect. I think it's a really healthy way to build. Um, so one of my goals is to bring some of these businesses to a profitable, honestly. I've got so much stuff that's going on. It's, and we put our heart and soul into a lot of stuff that we do. Um, so that's where we want to get to the point where it's sustainable. Like, let's be honest, in today's, times, if you're going to have something that's going to last, it's got to be self-feeding, basically. Um, you can't just, I mean, you can run a charity, I suppose, but it's a lot harder to do that than it is just to offer value and provide value. So that's where we really want to take up the mantle. For instance, Natalia has people reaching out to her all the time to help with their websites because that's something that she can provide value in that area. Um, other providing value in other areas is networking with women. Like she's great at women's networking, so she can provide value there. Our anything we touch, we want to be giving back. That's what we really want to be doing. And in doing that, like I said, providing value for that young person that's looking to make a connection with someone that's like-minded and has similar goals. It's really hard to build a house on earth that's not moving, or earth that's constantly moving. You want a solid foundation. So when you can meet a partner that has similar goals, you at least have that foundation to build from. And I find that really helps with longevity of the relationship. So if you're looking to actually build something with another person, it helps to have that in mind to start with. That you're really looking to have that solid foundation of let's build a future, let's build a legacy, let's what I mean. And there's different times in your life you're dating for different reasons or whatever, and that's fine. But when you finally come around to the realization that, you need to have solid something, you know what I mean? It ends up being better when you can share those things with someone else. So, I would say, like I said, the goals for the year is to be able to build these things to where they're self-sustaining. Um, and we're like I said, we're working on that. We're going to work on providing as much value as we can so that people see value and they'd want to partner with us, and join the groups, join everything else. And, we're going to do as much as we can, listen to, you guys and everyone else and get positive feedback and maybe even negative feedback. Take that all into consideration and be able to provide the best value possible.
Constructive criticism, honey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not negative feedback. There's no such thing as negative feedback. Well, technically there is, but when you give feedback to someone, it shouldn't be framed as negative. It should always be framed as constructive because you have good intentions when you tell someone that they're doing something wrong, obviously, right? However, one of my goals for this year, I would say my main goal for this year is getting everything organized because I'm multi-passionate and I do have several businesses. I am pulled in a lot of different directions. And then also because I'm a mom and I'm a daughter and I'm a sister and an auntie, family, of course, is very important. I mean, yes, of course, the business is important too because the business helps sustain you and your lifestyle. But family is super important to me. And I want to be able to be in a position where I can run multiple businesses and still have time for family and friends as well. So that's one of my goals for this year to be able to organize everything where it's like a well oiled machine. One of my mentors who I really admire is Richard Branson. He runs several brands and but yet he still finds time to go on vacation for several weeks with his family. And I really value that because I mean, this man is like billionaire type status. He owns Virgin, Atlantic Airlines and many other brands, right? But he's at the point in his life where he has everything streamlined. So that's where I want to be. And that's my goal for this year to make sure that I get things streamlined because honestly, when you organize things, it's easier to do business. When you are not organized, it's very hard to do business. And I'm telling you, I'm speaking from truth because you all over the place. and then you're dropping the ball here and dropping the ball there, and not making the sale here or whatever. But getting organized is my main goal for this year, so that all of my time and energy is allocated accordingly, so that the businesses don't suffer and also my relationships with my family don't suffer. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 5-year vision. Ooh, that's kind of deep actually. But yes, what's, yes, 5-year vision. Where do you see your business in 5 years? Hmm. Where do we see the boss couples in 5 years? I know where I see it. Where do you see it?
Ultimately, I like I said, I would like to see it providing value. I would like to see it self-sustaining and growing, so that we can bring more people into the community. And I really want to feel like in 5 years we have a solid community that is benefiting greatly from being in the community, and that we're building towards a legacy to where it's not just we're here, we're gone. That this is going to be, us connecting people, businesses, spiritually, whatever, however you want to go down that road, we can help. You know what I mean? That's where I really want to see it to the point where it's flourishing and it's growing. And um, I think in 5 years, that's a good goal. You know what I mean? To have it to where it is coming to fruition of being the best community for couples there is. That's what we're looking to do.
Yeah. So Francis and I also talked about the strategy behind the boss couples. And in 5 years, we envision seeing the boss couples being a suite of resources for couples in business, and also bosses who want to be coupled up. Because, like I said, we met at a business conference, and not to say that you're going to meet your person at a business conference. You could meet your person in the mall. You could meet your person detailed in your car, at the car wash. But it's not where you meet them, it's the state of mind when you meet that person, that I think that's going to make the difference. But we envision conferences, seminars, local meetups, a thriving community where regularly, ugh, can't say that word, on a regular basis, on a regular basis, we are having community events and events, especially obviously networking, where you can share your business, share what's working, and have a community where it's a safe space for you to talk about what it is like to run a business as a couple, what it's like to have one person run a business and you are the supporter, because that's another model as well. Not all of the couples in boss couples have a business together, but they have a shared vision that there is a business that exists, whether one person runs it, another person just maybe either financially supports or provides that emotional and physical support, right? Because there's different business models. But we envision in 5 years, we'd be up and running to the point where we have our annual conference, where you guys can come and provide value as well as speakers. And who knows, maybe Richard Branson will answer one of my emails, and he will agree to come and speak at our event, and drop some knowledge and some wisdom and some encouragement for us. And yeah, learning. I'm very big on learning as a coach. I have resources that I give to my clients for them to learn, both personally and professionally. And another thing that we envision is also travel. So I told Francis that this was non-negotiable, because I travel a lot. I used to work for an airline. My mom used to be a flight attendant, so I've been traveling since I was a child, and I love to travel. But I've never really traveled with a partner. I think I've been away a couple of times on a like short trip or whatever. But I'm talking like intentionally months in advance planning type of travel, or spur of the moment, and we're going away for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks in Rome or Europe.
Speaking of which, we got a cruise coming up.
Right. Well, we're gonna get to that, honey.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that. So, anywho, um, travel is a non-negotiable. So in 5 years, we're gonna be traveling as a group. And guess what? If you can make it, that's great. If you can't, that's fine also. But I can tell you one thing. We're not going to let what other people cannot do stop our show because, well, first of all, that's what we're doing right now. We're still doing this video even though no one showed up, because at the end of the day, we are committed to what we have started and where we want the boss couples to go. So travel is definitely in the 5-year plan, and we're kicking off year 1 with a cruise. So why don't we just jump into that then?
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah. So what is it, August 20th through 24th?
Yep, August 20th to 24th.
Yeah.
I am from the Bahamas originally, so Francis has never been on a cruise. Can you believe that?
hmm
But guess what? I've never been either. So even though I've had access to multiple discounts in the cruise industry because of my work at American Airlines, one of the best airlines in the world, um, I've never been on a cruise. So this is our first cruise individually and together. I think that's pretty amazing, actually, because
One of us may end up in the ocean. We'll find out.
well, I was on the swim team, so good luck with that.
I float extremely well. It'll be fine. But yeah.
Anyway, we're going on Royal Caribbean because I am from the Caribbean, so we had to go on Royal Caribbean as the first cruise, of course. Which Royal Caribbean is registered in Bahamas, by the way. I'm just saying, shameless plug. So the cruise is open for booking, and we will have the cruise information up by the end of the weekend, because it's not just the cruise. Obviously, we're going to have a workshop, a dinner, a couple of themed events, just, things to pass the time, because this cruise only has 1 day in port and the rest of the time is on the ship. So we'll have plenty of time on that ship to spend with each other. Not to say that we want to spend every waking minute with each other and with you guys. Of course not. We want to have our own privacy, obviously. We want you guys to have your own privacy, and share in your personal moments. But the purpose of the cruise, obviously, is to come together and do things together. So we'll have games and, um, you know, we'll have a lot of fun. Let's just say that. And I know it seems like it's a short time away, but it's going to be amazing. So I hope you guys will make every effort to be there. And yeah, sailing out of Tampa, Florida, by the way, because we are in Tampa. Um, for my Houston network, we are going to be organizing you guys flying into Tampa the day before, and we will have a dinner that night before the cruise. So that will obviously, if you're coming from Houston, it will involve a 1 night stay before, because you never obviously want to fly in on the day of a cruise. You never know what can happen. The flight could be delayed, you'll miss the boat, yada, yada, yada. So we'll have a dinner the night before with everyone in Tampa. And then we will go on the cruise the next morning as a group. Yes. And of course, we will be wearing shirts. And I know for some of you who are cruise veterans, that might seem cheesy, but please just indulge us for this one time. It is his first cruise, my first cruise, and our first cruise together. So yes, we will have shirts. Yes, that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do, bud.
Yes, I know. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, so that's one of the things you look at is wearing shirts. It's branded. It's cool. She did a good job on the shirts. Actually, they look pretty decent. Like
Technically speaking, someone did
yeah.
give me a high resolution file, but they actually came out pretty decent. So imagine what I could do with a high resolution file.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's doing shirts now. Would you just do one for a wedding or no?
It's a family reunion.
Family reunion. That's all. It was. Yeah.
It was a family reunion that wanted to focus on the 250th anniversary of America's independence. So Francis bought me a heat press for my Christmas presents, and I finally took it out of the box.
6 months later.
6 months later. Look, when I tell you guys I'm busy, y'all know I'm busy. The ones who know me, y'all know I'm busy. But anyway, I am on a quest. I have another business where I show people how easy it is to start a side hustle, right? And I'm on a quest to show people how easy it is to put yourself out there and to bring in some revenue, even if it's literally at the last minute. And this lady in one of my Facebook groups said, I need some shirts for my family reunion. Can anyone help? And I answered her and she answered me back. And next thing you know, I'm delivering 27 shirts on my first order to her house. And she was pleased with it. She loved the shirts. And, I made that paper, you know, but I mean, that's what bosses do, right? They boss up and they see the opportunities. And, a part of the resources that we're going to be providing is how to spot opportunities, whether individually or as a couple. Like for example, when Francis and I go out, we sometimes comment, sometimes at the same time, about, oh, that would be great for the boss couples or whatever. So being able to recognize those opportunities in business is super important. And if you don't know how to do that, obviously we're going to be providing resources on how to do that, because as a strategist, well, I see dollar signs everywhere. And as a sales coach, Francis wants to go chase the dollar signs. So I see them, and then sometimes it sits in the back of my mind, and then I'll make it to, a to-do list. And Francis is trying to take the dollar from out of my head and putting it into my pocket by getting me to do what? Take action. Because Francis is all about making that sale, because that's his sales background. And of course, if for those of you who know Grant Cardone and his teachings, you will know that he is about that as well. And I think that's the reason why Francis went to that conference, because he resonated with what Grant Cardone was saying, because he knows that that's how he operates. And of course, I went because, not that, I don't like sales, but I went because, one, I love a good networking opportunity and I love a good conference. And I know it was going to be good. Plus, I got a free ticket. So, you know, in Miami too, at a posh restaurant, I mean, a hotel, I was there. I was totally there. But anyway, um, right. We're not going to really go into the challenges that we are going to overcome and all of that. We're going to save that for when we have more people on the call, where we can actually have some engagement. But um, rest of the year, we're going to wrap up by talking about the rest of the year. So I run women's events. That's something that I have been doing long before I met Francis Mize. That's for sure. So right now I have several monthly networking events for women in the Tampa area, Orlando area, the Bahamas, and Houston. And together we want to have boss couples events in as many cities as we can. So if you know someone who is in Ohio or Las Vegas or New York or Chicago, wherever they are, we want to spread the word about boss couples and get boss couples in every major city in the United States. And to do that, we were going to need, obviously, people to help us. So the goal is to have monthly networking where you can come and share your business, connect with like-minded people, and have a safe space when you can talk about your business. And obviously, if you have some personal connection with people that you meet through the boss couples, you could talk about personal things if that's what you're looking to do. I'm pretty sure that, Francis would love some more men to talk about the things that I do that drive him crazy, which is like maybe one or two things, just one or two, you know, and vice versa, as individuals, once again, going back to our individuality, we need that safe space. You know what I'm saying? Women gonna talk, men are gonna fish and talk, or play golf and talk, or do something. Men don't just talk; they like to do an activity and talk. So we'll obviously have those events. Mastermind discussions. Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you know what a mastermind was before?
Actually, no. I before going to like the Grant Cardone thing and stuff, like I knew nothing about the masterminds. What I knew was what I was taught in my jobs as sales was basically you got to be shameless. You got to be able to get 10,000 no's for that one yes.
Mhm.
And you're not just selling whatever product you're selling, you're also selling yourself. So to put yourself out there, to put yourself to be on a stage basically and perform, that's what you got to do. You know what I mean? And it's very difficult for people to do that a lot of times, especially to, strangers and present themselves out there. Example I'll use is at one point I was that dude standing in Walmart trying to sell you satellite TV. I mean, everybody looks at that person and wants to run the other direction,
That's
but
funny.
yeah, I mean, it's all on how many people you talk to. Um, is it the best satellite ever in the world? No, but you're going to establish those connections. And you can't really sell unless you have some component of caring, which is what got me into my job as nursing. I genuinely enjoy meeting people and caring for people. And if that's in a capacity of being a nurse, if that's a capacity of, helping them buy a car or helping them buy whatever, or pointing them in the right direction for a nice restaurant, like, that's something that's in me that I know that I've had since I was a young boy. You know what I mean? I was always a helper, and I enjoy doing that. So I want to build this business and with my partner in helping as much as we can wherever we can. Yeah. And I suggested we do a Facebook Live, and she was like, "No, let's not do it." Because I'm like, "Honey, you got to be shameless. Let's do it." But
I'm not afraid of a Facebook Live, but that was not the strategy that we discussed beforehand. And besides, one of the things that I definitely want to create is a level of scarcity. If you don't know about this tactic in your business, I'd be happy to have a one on one conversation with you about it. But when you create that scarcity and not just put yourself out there per se, people become intrigued. And I want people to be intrigued about the boss couples and what we're doing, what we're doing with this brand. So anyway, for those of you who don't know what a mastermind is simply a meeting of the minds. It's meant for at least three or more people, because when you have just two people, like Francis and I, right, there tends to be this back and forth. And he said, she said, he thinks, she thinks. When you have a third person in there, now they have an unbiased opinion. Not that the mastermind discussions are going to be about us as individuals, but when you have three or more people that are thinking differently, now you have more options. And obviously, the more people you have in your mastermind group, the more options you have. So if you think about the fact that if you're struggling with something because you don't understand it or you don't know what your next move should be, imagine that someone who has a particular strength can just look at your situation and be like, well, you should just do that. And to them, it's a no brainer. To you, it's like, oh, I never thought of that. And you would have never thought about that if that person never came along. So the mastermind discussion is all about bringing the collective minds together to come up with a solution for one particular goal or problem or obstacle that a business is having. Guest speakers, that's another thing that we want to definitely have. Um, as you all know, time is really flying. Like it was just January, and we've already been to Cincinnati. What, seven
we're
road
averaging
trips?
once a month.
Right. We've already been on
Houston every other month.
7 road trips. I've myself by myself. I've driven to Houston a couple of times this year. So, um,
Nassau at least once in the last year.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So when I met Francis, I was going to the Bahamas um every sometimes twice a month, but definitely every month, because I was actually living in Miami for 3 months at the time, launching another brand. And obviously that has slowed down a little bit because we spent the time working on our relationship and, me getting settled into Tampa and whatnot. But um, yeah, definitely
Yeah,
one.
I can't wait to go back. Nassau's great. Like it's really, and I can find things, that everywhere I've been, there are spectacular people. Everywhere I've been to Atlanta, Memphis, yeah, LA, New York, Philly, you name it. I've pretty much been there and met such wonderful people all around this country. I know the headlines always want to grab this one's fighting with that one and this
Yeah.
one's da da da. But when it comes down to it, there is 90% or higher of the entire country. It's just really good people that, I've met wonderful people that are, in Philadelphia, in New York City, in Idaho, in Texas, you know what I mean? And once you get around, you start seeing all these different people. We all share a lot of the common goals. Like we want to take care of our families. We want to see them succeed. We want to, succeed ourselves and
Yeah.
feel some support and have a group or, a support system that can come in when we need it. And then we also want to be the support system at times too. So, seeing going to Nassau, even, going over to the Caribbean and stuff, we were out at a street party until middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was just so much fun. The people were just, so friendly, so kind, and it's most of what you see wherever you go,
Yeah.
honestly.
Everyone was quite fascinated to see this very tall man from, Ohio at their street parade in the Caribbean. And yeah, it was a lot of fun though. He
Yeah.
had enjoyed it. But I mean, so getting back to my point. My point was that time is moving very quickly. So we want to have, obviously we want to have the structure in the boss couple, so not only you have something to look forward to, but that you can plan accordingly. I'm a big stickler for planning. I love planning ahead, right? So guest speakers, we're thinking to start off, we'll have Zoom calls at least quarterly, right? Hopefully we'll have them, we're gonna have a monthly networking of calls, but we're gonna have, special events where we can have guest speakers come in, and maybe one of you guys will be one of our guest speakers. We shall see. Business spotlights. We definitely want to spotlight your business because that is the point of this. It's, to help you get more business, get more referrals, right? And then work on yourselves while you build your businesses and have fun, right? So with the travel and the events and, all of the bro events that he's going to have and all the women's events that we're going to have. And then we'll have those events together, right? Accountability check-ins. I'm huge on accountability. Let me tell you something. If you're not in a network already that has accountability, well, hopefully boss couples can be that for you so that you can experience that. As a business coach, I can tell you that a lot of women struggle, and a lot of men as well,
Yeah.
and a lot of couples struggle with consistency because there's no accountability. And accountability is not just showing up every week to networking, right? There are a lot of us in here, in the group that are in BNIs and networking groups, and we go to church regularly, whatever. Showing up is not accountability. Accountability is when you feel the need to accomplish something because now people in your community are looking to you to for you to do what you said you were going to do. That is accountability, right? Networking and showing up consistently in your business is not accountability. When you hold yourself accountable to others, you can get more done. I promise you. And I think a lot of people who are struggling with gaining traction in their business is because they have no accountability. So we want to provide that resource to you as the members as well. And then collaborative opportunities. We might need one of you guys to help us with one of the events that we're having or whatever it is that we're doing. So, and plus, we want to encourage you to collaborate with each other. Some of you might literally live in the same city and not even know each other. So, this is about connecting you guys and getting you guys to think with the collaborative hats on and look for ways that you can grow your business and help that other person grow their business as well. So,
Yeah. Already seen some great stuff in the group where people,
yeah,
I guess there are some real estate people out there in the Woodlands or joining the group in the Woodlands,
yep,
Texas. We're having a great conversation, and that's what it's all about. Get on there. Say who you are, where you're at, what you do. Um, we want to foster those conversations. We want to see our group become that support network that gets you the rocket ship you need to go from point A to point B. That's what we're really looking for and what we're wanting to do. And we just see that there's really not that support. Like you even go into the Grant Cardone group. The thing that stuck to me about that whole thing, like number one, I didn't get to see Grant Cardone because he wasn't even there, which was a huge disappointment. But
I knew he wasn't going to be there. I was like,
yeah, I had no idea.
there's
But
no way this man is showing up in this
the
room today.
sense of community and the sense of support in that room
Yeah, we're still
was-
connected with some of those people today.
Yeah. It was spectacular. I mean, there were some really, really good people in there that, are really focusing in on helping their communities. Off the top of my head, there was one guy who struggled with alcohol addiction, became a bodybuilder and an actor, and he was trying to get back to his community. And it's just, I mean, I could name hundreds, or off all these different people that I met that were doing great work to really help improve things. But that wasn't the focus. The focus was on the Grant Cardone way of doing stuff, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But we really found the value in the people, and that's where we want to focus and we want to foster is, that community, that sense of, well, I know this person or I know that person or I can connect with this one or that's where we want, to bring people into this community and then provide as much value as we possibly can.
Yeah.
So it's our first Zoom. We knocked one out. Yes. Yes. Good job.
Um, I just want to say also that, for those of you who are in the Facebook group, our goal is not just to have a Facebook group where people come in. We call it, posts and ghosts, where you see the Working Wednesday post and, you decide to share your business and then we don't hear from you again until the following Wednesday. That is not what we want because let's face it, we're all in groups like that already. We're building something for offline, as in, yeah, you might be in the Facebook group, but hey, there's a dinner happening in Houston. There's a dinner happening in Tampa. There's a dinner happening in the Bahamas. There's a dinner happening, in New York or wherever it is that our members may be. It's an offline community where we have support, resources, knowledge, events, and cruises and travels and trips and trips and trips. Yes, I'm just saying.
So to sum that all up, we're going to try and meet you where you're at. Like we get, not everybody can make next Tuesday at the steakhouse, or not everybody can make this certain time for this cruise. But if you got time to hop on one of the calls, the LinkedIn or whatever we're doing, these live calls, or if you want to go back through it, or the Facebook group, but we also are on Instagram. Just wherever you're at, we're going to try and meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
Um, that's what we ultimately want to have the resources to do that. If you're TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, so on and so forth, wherever you're at, we want to be there with you to help you out. So we both live very busy lives, and there's times that we can't even make our own schedules click. So, but we want to have those resources there, and I think that's we also want the groups to be able to provide, so hey, I'm free on Tuesday, or hey, anybody got an idea for this or that, you know what I mean?
Right.
We want to keep fostering those conversations. And
Yes.
the groups is one way to do that. So feel
Exactly.
free, be active, if I got 5 minutes to be on there, I'm going to be on there chit chatting. If she does, she's going to be,
Yeah.
And you can always DM us as well.
Yeah.
You can always private message if you want.
And a lot of these events can be beneficial to you as business owners too, because like, for example, I don't know if well, for those of you who've never been to a conference or like a big seminar, but there are lots of moving parts and you need a lot of small businesses to bring that event to fruition. You need, sound and audio. You need lighting. You need staging. You need florals. You need food. You need valet services. You need so many different things. So this is a way for us to tap into our community members for the boss couples to help us grow our events as well. So it's definitely beneficial for you to be in the group. Um, but not just to gain more business, but like I said, because you want to be a part of a community that helps you become a better person, a better business owner, and ultimately for those of you who are not coupled up yet, to be better couples. Um, yeah, and that's really my final thoughts. So hopefully you guys get to watch this in its entirety. I know it's long,
Probably
but
post a long
it's our
form,
first one
post
because we had
YouTube, maybe
yes.
do some shorts off of it or something.
Yeah.
So
So we'll definitely
you will see us around.
right, that part. And then we're also on social media. So a lot of you came into this group because I, right?
Yeah. She took the reins on a lot of that.
Y'all know already, I dropped I drop my business name strategically. I don't just, I'm not callous with it. Strategically, I can see a post in another group and I can see the need for that person to be in the group. And that's why I comment. So a lot of you are in the boss couples because, I posted it in a Facebook group. Of course, Francis has invited some people in there too. I'm not saying that he didn't do his part because Francis does a lot of the strategic behind the scenes sales stuff, right? The stuff that he's really strong at. When it comes to social media, lead generation, getting people into the Facebook group, that's where I come in, and I have no problem continuing in that role because I'm on Facebook strategically all the time. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you can make the next one. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. You can find us in the group, or you can send us a message on Facebook or wherever, Instagram, wherever you know us, because all of you know us individually through different channels, so you know where to find us. But if not, you can always just say something in the group. And speaking of group, don't forget to do your introductions if you haven't done so that we can know who you are, where you are, and what your business is. So
And if we're on YouTube, please comment, like, and share. You know how that rolls.
yes, I will make the prompt in the group, of course, for you to do so.
All right, guys.
All right.
It's great talking to you or at you, and hopefully next time we're talking with you.
Yes, that part.